Here's three things I really liked about the latest episode that I'm going to share with you today, and that is no jargon, a field that is completely different from what we've discussed so far, and I got to learn something new. If you're interested and want to learn too, tune into this episode of Karishma Connect, where I'm speaking to Siddharth Agarwal of Mobicule Technologies, which is a company that combines AI powered technology with human intelligence to provide a product that simplifies the debt collection process for finance organizations and banks. So essentially, when you get that call for your EMI, the process behind that and how technology has simplified that process and has also helped regulate that process is what we discuss on this episode of Karishma Connect. Siddharth sir tells me about starting at a time 16 years from now where we didn't even have the kind of phones we have today. There's a lot of learning in there. There are a lot of insights, especially if you're a budding tech entrepreneur. You're going to love the episode. So go check it out. And until the next one, stay tuned. This is Karishma, and I'll be back yet again. Until then, that. Thank you so much, Siddhartha, for joining me on this episode of Karishma Connect. It's a pleasure to have you, especially because I'm equally curious and looking forward to knowing about something that I didn't hear of ever since I've got this story in my pocket. I've actually learned so much, and I look forward to learning more from you. To begin with, every podcast starts with tell me about that wonderful journey you've had so far. How are you where you are today? How have you reached here? Where did you start? And what's been so amazing about this entire journey?
Great, great. So first of all, thank you for having me over. And in a way, I'm glad you have not heard about us because we are in a very tricky space of debt collection, right? So as a consumer, you should not know about us, which means you're doing financially very well, right? Now that's just keeping the jokes on the side. We are on the financial side of things, right? So either way, wherever you take a loan, right, you are dealing with a financial institution or a bank, okay? Uh, and there is a EMI. We very well know this word called EMI, right? All of us work from first to 31st, and then we get our salaries, and then again we need to refill, right? So the EMI is the major chunk for any individual in the middle age, which is going to bother him or her in terms of his cash flow, personal cash flow. So what we do is we are actually a software, which the software in the entire services around it, which where we work effectively with banks, financial institutions. So it is banks, NBFCs, any financial services. This which has a lot of consumers, and obviously the focus is retail loans because that's where the volume is, right? B2B loans are handled in a little bit of a different manner.
Yeah.
So there we work very closely with the banks. We give them our software and services so that they can effectively recover from the consumer. So we are actually a new age debt collection, monitoring, and a recovery platform. I'll get into more details, as we go further in the podcast. So that's what we do. So finally, as a consumer, we interact with you only via some digital medium, which is either SMS, email, IVR, WhatsApp. You get these fancy voice bots which you don't even know there is a bot talking to you. So we are in all that technology at the back end. Okay, over a period of years now, this product alone has taken us a decade to get where we are. Right, so it's almost 10 years which we conceptualized this specific product, and now we are successfully helping a lot of banks in India and NBFCs. Okay, and so from a consumer side, that's where the connect is. From a financial institution or bank side, uh, we are in the simple business of reducing the bounce rate, which means bounce means whenever a customer is not paying a EMI, it's called a bounce. Okay, so once that customer has bounced, first we have to ensure that we remind the customer effectively, and second, if he bounces, okay, which happens, it's an industry, it's a large industry.
Yeah.
There is definitely a bounce rate that happens. Then effectively keeping the consumer in the focus. Now this is a differentiator we bring on the table, which is the consumer at the center of the collection process. How we can make it convenient for the consumer to pay back to the bank, right? So that's the base of this. To just give you a quick background, as an organization, we're a company called Mobicule. We were incorporated in 2008, so it's been nearly this is our 16th year
Wow.
in operation right now.
Mm,
Okay, and we started in Bombay is our headquarters. Basically, we started. I'm one brought up here, so
mm,
natural for me to pick it up here. And so we started here. When we started, we were the pioneers when it came to enterprise mobile technology. Now, to just cut the jargon out, it is basically transacting on the mobile, right? So if you remember your 2008 ka days, that's when we started basically. You have a Nokia phone, like a very small feature phone. So
yes.
at that time, we told the world, ki, okay, this is where you are going to, you should transact your business.
Mm,
I have said this in multiple of my interactions with multiple people that we were laughed at. Whenever we started, right, people said, "Oh, it's not possible. Such a small phone. How can you use it for business?" We thought it made sense. It is going to happen. We put our bets on that, and slowly from that journey of having business applications on the mobile phone, this entire journey of debt collection started in 2000. So 15 odd, we conceptualized this product, came out of a lot of research development, working with a lot of banks, telecom players, and we finally conceptualized this product. And in that also we've had two cycles. So we when we came up with the product, this
mm,
industry, you as you rightly said, you didn't even know, right? So this
yeah,
industry is the last leg in the entire credit cycle. So you go to a
mm,
bank, you take a loan. As long as you are paying your EMI, the bank doesn't bother, right? They don't want to
yeah,
bother you. You are
very true.
paying fine, that's fine, right?
Mm,
And the way the Indian economy was booming and the way things were happening, it was the last part. So nobody thought of, there is going to be a software automation technology that is required here. It's a
mm,
pretty manual process.
mm,
And so we are one of the few people, I should not say that, which benefited from COVID.
mm,
Uh, where as soon as COVID hit, what happened is everybody is inside the house. So your
yes.
typical process of, so इसमें क्या होता है last में there is a guy who is going to come and knock at your door and say, "Madam, please, you have missed your EMI. Can you ensure we are trying to contact you and this and that. If you are missing their calls and you are not avoiding their calls and you are not able, not traceable, somebody will do a soft knock at your door and say, okay, your EMI is due. Okay.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
I tell you, in the space that we work, this field is highly regulated. So RBI has norms on how a bank or a financial institution is to deal with its customers. So we
mm,
are obviously bound by those norms, and we take care of those norms when we our software also interacts with the customer.
mm,
So these days it is not about hard recovery. It is about reminding the consumer, saying that you have missed for whatever reasons that may have happened. Now we obviously want you to pay. So tell us, when should we come back? Either you want to make an online payment, or should I come back and take the payment? Now when COVID came, what happened is this whole industry got disrupted,
mm,
because you don't have the right. Now you can't go to anybody's house.
yes.
Okay, so all
Yeah,
the collection agents are sitting at their houses. Now they're still, the bank has to still function, right? They can't
yeah,
have the EMIs being bounced. And COVID was a tough period, right? A lot of people lost their jobs. There were a lot of things that happened. Financially, it was a tough time for consumers.
yeah.
So that is a time where there was a spike, a little bit spike in the bounce rate. And that's where all these financial institutions started thinking, okay, now we need to really make this process more digital, more automated, more
Mm,
consumer friendly than what it is. And we were already on that path, so it kind of just
mm,
happened. It was not planned or anything. I don't have a great story to tell you, we did something like this and something happened. No, it was all that happened because of some turn of events, some great things, changing and all that. So we just had a stroke of luck. COVID happened. We had the software. We were already dealing with a couple of large banks. So we said, okay, we will take advantage of this. And towards the end of COVID, we put our bets hard, saying that this will scale. And that's what is happening as we speak. So we are
yeah,
still a establishing brand, if I have to put it that way. And so that's the background of from where we started in 2008 to now. Okay. We are a pretty, on a large scale, a very young team. You will, this is the maximum gray hair you will see in the organization, basically. So Uh, we have, built. This is a pure made in India product. So our dream was to have a software and a product company from India. That's what we all believed in, right? You must have heard of Infosys, TCS. They've done a great job for the industry
Yes.
and all that. But very few product companies now we hear, right? We hear a Zoho, we hear a Finacle,
Yeah.
we hear a name. These are product companies. And when we started, we strongly believe that we can do slightly better than just doing services and have our own
Mm,
product at the global scale.
mm,
Obviously, if you get it right, it's the world has turned now. So if it get you right, you get it right in India, you get it right for the world. It is other way around, right? It's no more
very
that
true.
you go to a Western geography, try the product there, and then come back to India. It just flipped now. So you do
Yeah,
well in India, you are welcome everywhere else because you
very
handle the volumes and the complexity which doesn't not very easily available anywhere in the world.
true. Absolutely.
So that's been our simple philosophy. We wanted to be a product company. We tread the path. Started. I graduated in 2002. Then did my BE computer science from Mumbai University from Siddharth Patel. Worked for 2 3 startups. Had the luxury of having good startups in Mumbai, so I managed to work with 2 3 startups. Started on my college mate is my co-founder, so and that's how we started.
When you started at a time when this was hardly, like you rightfully said, in 2008, all you had, I remember I had, I think, that vague N95 phone, which was just, if I'm not wrong, that was just that had come
Then
around that
we
time.
communicator, right?
Yeah, it had just had some sort of applications attached to it. Like you said, people were laughing about these concepts. There wasn't any physical visibility around using tech the way we do today.
Correct.
But starting something like that back then and kind of believing in it, what did that entail? How did you manage to, what made you believe that this is going to work for the future and this is coming up?
So see, I'll break down one more jargon. So none of us come from an IIT IIM background over here. So it was not that we started very organically, and it wasn't backed by any research or
Mm,
any specific case study or something. It is that just when we started, so we people from technology background. I come from a technology background. Unfortunately, I do very less. Thanks to my co-founder, he takes care of all that. So when we interacted with a mobile phone, so in early days, if you remember, just before that, there was this personal digital assistant PDA revolution that had come. I don't know if you know those phones used to come with a stylus. It
yes.
was called a PDA, right? That was the first mobile phone, and then it went into a feature phone, and now we are back to having the stylus and all that again. So when the first time I held it, probably because I came from a technology background, thanks to some friends, I got to know there is some technology which works on the mobile phones. So I just started working on it. When I built my first application there, I don't know, something clicked. I have no reasoning behind it. Something clicked which told me that, okay, it was exciting. First of all, it was very exciting to see something work on a mobile phone, right? That was like novelty at that time. So it was just the excitement to begin with, and somewhere the way phones were moving.
Mm,
So, and our belief has become stronger and stronger. Our early days, we've been blessed, right, to kind of customers that we worked with. So, early days, we had this largest distributor of Nokia.
mm,
It was our first break, right? Saying that, so we went, ki, sir, aisa software hai, you can kind of order from the mobile phone. First time
mm.
we were welcomed inside, saying, oh, great. We were looking for something like this. So, we were like, oh,
Huh.
wow, meet some visionaries now.
Yeah.
So, it was a very simple problem that they had. They
Yeah.
were so if you know a little bit of Mumbai's geography, they were based at Lower Parel.
Yeah.
They were one of the largest distributors of Nokia. So if there
Okay.
is order which is placed in South Mumbai in the morning, okay, and Nokia was a pull product at that time. So if
Yes.
somebody has to buy a Nokia, he wanted that phone at that time.
Yes.
He can't wait. The retailer has to give the phone at that time,
Yeah.
right? So they had a very simple problem that if I order the phone, if my retailer orders the phone, I should get the order immediately, and I should be able to send a dispatch so that by afternoon the phone is with the retailer. And that was
Mm,
only possible by using mobile technology. because it is no other way you can, because retailer kuch karta, retailer was not tech savvy. So in the
Yeah.
same person used to use our application, place the order from there. They used to get the order in the warehouse, process the order in the, that is it used to go. So the moment we started implementing the product that we have and the technology that we have, it started giving us more and more belief. And then it is history. Obviously, we've seen our ups and downs with the mobile technology going up. We're doing a lot of things, and then kind of streamlining ourselves. So because 16 years is a long time, right? So
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
we are not a typical sexy startup story, take the money, make it very big and then make it bigger and bigger. We have earned to the point where we have earned whatever years we've spent, we've earned the benefit of that in whatever you see in the organization right now.
Tell me something. What do businesses who interact with yourself and the technology need to keep in mind?
So yeah, so if I have to quickly, let's take it, let's take an example, maybe a large bank, maybe in India. Okay, I will take a non-customer example. I will, let's keep customers
Yeah.
and all that aside, so that the podcast remains simple. Let's take an example of ICICI Bank, not our customer right now, but let's take one of the largest banks in India. Right, they would have lakhs of consumers. So what are these consumers who have taken a home loan, who have taken a two-wheeler loan, four-wheeler loan, some personal loan, they have credit cards. These all come under the liability side, or these are
Yeah.
consumer loans that they have given. Now, a bank of that nature would have lakhs of accounts where they are doing this. There is a certain percentage which fail to pay on a
Mm.
certain day, right? Not that these are traditional defaulters. It is just a situation. Sometimes your salary is deposited late, your cash flows are not in place, you have money lying in some other account, and the
Mm.
EMI got debited from some other account. So there are multiple scenarios that happen. A very few percentage actually default. From whatever I have seen in the industry for this, a very few percentage are habitual defaulters.
Mm.
uh,
Mm.
I call the rest of the people either people who are not they are not they are situational defaulters, right? It's just a situation and they are defaulting for some time and they get back on this, which happens with everybody at some point of their life, in their life, one time or the other. Now, so there are a lot of these that get generated every month.
Mm.
Okay, the traditional method of doing it was, have a contact center call, ki sir, aapka EMI is due, so you need to pay your EMI, and hence and forth, take a promise from the customer. So if it's a customer who has defaulted multiple times, then you start getting calls 5 days before. You please
Mm.
ensure that your account is funded. You had missed the EMI last time. So there
Yeah.
is a algorithm. There is a risk algorithm which works in the bank,
Mm.
right? Which
Mm.
decides, it is simple: low, medium, high. High risk customer, medium
Yeah.
risk customer, low risk customer. As simple as that. If I have to look at it. So a high customer would get a traditional method. Somebody, there is a contact center. There are tons of seats. Somebody will call you, remind you, and you will hang up the phone. You will assure them. You will hang up the phone. Your date will come. Either you will pay or you will not pay. Now,
Mm.
God forbid you have not paid, then you have the string of phone calls coming to you, right?
Mm.
Morning, afternoon, evening. If you have the money, you pick up the phone, or if you have the guts to face it, you would pick up the phone and say, okay, I will pay, give me 7 days, 10 days, 15 days, whatever, right?
Mm.
And then after that, you would get your money, and whenever somebody calls, you will say, okay, I have the money. Now your EMI has bounced. How do I pay? So either you have
Mm.
a check which has got bounced, or you
Mm.
have these days the ECS or an H that auto
Mm.
debits from your account, right? Now you're past the date, that debit has already happened. Now you
Mm.
need to go to the bank and pay.
Mm.
Obviously, there is a NEFT, RTGS, and all that you can do, but then you need to know the details, or you need
Mm.
to go to the bank. So there are two problems in this. One is you are probably in a fear to talk to a collection agent, right?
Yeah. Very
standard
true.
challenge. If you interview 10 people, 8 will be say कि boss मेरे को collection agent का phone आया तो I don't feel very great, right? So standard this. Second, out of 10, 9 people will tell you I don't know how to pay. I don't know, I missed my date. Now how do I pay you, basically,
Mm. Mm.
right? And now you don't have the time to go to the contact center or whatever, blah blah, go to the website. It's not never been very easy to pay. Now if you add the advent of UPI and you add the advent of the payment gateways that are around, this job has become much easier.
Yes.
So what is the benefit now is one, the how to part, right? If I missed and how do I pay, that has
Hmm.
become like a breeze, right? So you get a message with a link, you
Yeah.
click your UPI app opens and you pay, period, no
Yeah.
discussion,
Yeah.
right? And bulk of the EMIs are below 30,000, right? How much of India or whatever across the world, if I take
Hmm.
India as a specific case, 30 lakh ka loan is the maximum loan, which bulk of the population would take, right? People will have a better propensity. So आपका EMI 30,000 के नीचे, you are below 30,000 in your EMI. So you are comfortable paying through UPI, right? If it's a big amount, you say, I want to do it correctly, should not go wrong and all that. So this one thing has changed, which is
Hmm.
what our platform brings in to the fore, which is the benefit for the bank. Okay, and trends are changing, user behaviors are changing. People are comfortable. You get a link. Obviously, there is a fraud angle to it, but then
Hmm.
obviously you get a link, proper page. Everything is verified and all that, and then you see your loan account number, you see the amount. So it is a proper page. You click and you pay. Simple. It is as simple as that. So this is one part that gets sorted out.
Hmm.
Now, the first part, which I said, the fear of talking to a collection agent,
Hmm.
this is where technology can play a great role, right? So I mentioned at the beginning of this, you have a beautiful sounding bot because you don't look at the bot. So you have a beautiful reach out to you in a now the language models and all that are very advanced, right? Where you will not even realize for the first time. Obviously, after interacting for 1 minute, you realize, boss, this is a bot talking to me. What we've seen, people find this less intimidating, right? Because you're talking to technology, so you don't have a person talking. So first of all, you're not going to get intimidated because the bots are designed in a fashion they have to be polite, nice, and this.
Yeah.
Contact center agent may be out of frustration or something. They may not want to do that, but may get a little bit, over the line when he's talking to you on doing that. This is what technology brings in. It brings in the standardization, it brings in the uniqueness, and then the best part is the bot can talk in multiple languages, right? When
Hmm.
a contact center is calling, so if you have a Hindi speaking guy and you have a Tamil customer on the other side, so it's gone. It's a waste call. The
Ability.
bots now are smarter. They can,
Hmm.
if you talk to the bot in English and you switch to Tamil, it will switch to Tamil and start talking to you. So you
Wow.
don't need another call, right? So this is how technology can benefit. So to everybody who's probably in this field or any customer that is in this field, this is the way forward, right? Why do you need so many people? People should be focused on intellectual jobs. This is a mundane job of calling a customer, just taking a promise and confirming has he paid, is he going to pay, when is he going to pay, and how is he going to pay, which can be easily done by technology. Okay, obviously I don't want to get into a debate ki unke jobs ka kya hoga. You may take that debate with somebody else, but there are more intellectual things that are available. They can work on the credit process, they can work on something else, or they can work on complex cases, right? Simple cases can be handled by technology. There can be a good 20% reduction in terms of the number of people required who are just engaged in this particular part right now. And this is where technology can help. Second, technology can adapt to user behavior instantly, right? Which means if I reach out to you, you click on the message, I know you have clicked on the message. It is not
Yes.
including, but we are just sending you a message. We know, okay, you have clicked and you have tried to pay, basically,
Hmm.
right? As I said earlier, there are strong norms in terms of data privacy and all that aspects, which at least in India, RBI has a very strong framework. Okay, you cannot even move an inch, basically you're straight away banned even if you move an inch from there. So well within the frameworks, your personal privacy, private data is all secure. You just get a link. When you click on the link, we know whether you are clicking and paying or not. If you have
Hmm.
failed, it could be then a contact center can come in and ask you, do you need help to pay, things like that. So this is the two parts which make this particular space very exciting. It is a natural extension. I don't see that it is some kind of, definitely technology innovation is there. It's a natural extension. Technology or in this space will move in this direction. The movement is already started, and we are seeing a lot of transformation with the customers that we are talking to. So it's a win-win both for the financial institution which is lending as well as the consumer, right? Because now the consumer ke liye it is straightforward now. It is
Yeah.
not the earlier days, the way things used to happen. You have the money, you pay, you don't want to interact with anybody, right? You get a link, bot, whatever, whatever mechanism you want, you pay, right? And obviously, there is a segment of customers, maybe a farmer who doesn't know that you can still have a collection agent go. There also, we have full technology where the mobile application that is there with the agent aids
Mm.
him to help the customer pay quickly and the best method possible, right? So that's where uh, uh, my thought process is very simple, that anybody who's in this field, this is going to be a natural extension. I don't see a reason why people will not adopt this at a larger scale, right? So that's
Yeah.
my insight.
Also, the intimidating factor. Have you seen any use case scenarios where having these bots in places have actually helped reduce that fear? Because I'll be honest, before the podcast, I did research about debt collection, and to my immediate spotting, what I saw was that a lot of people expressed fear around this or had questions around it or ambiguity associated with it. So, has technology as such, the technology that you have at Mobicule, has that helped kind of reduce that and then regulate, say, the process itself? Do you see that, whether it's happened now, or do you see that happening in future?
It has, I would say, it has already begun. Okay, there is a huge amount of job that needs to be done further in that. I would say technology in general is helping that. Obviously, our product is using those technologies in those mediums, and with the domain and the our pedigree in this for the last a decade that we've been doing this, we have been able to do it yeah, in a much more organized fashion, which again, as I said, benefits the consumer as well as the bank, right? So
Mm.
it is about both digitizing the entire process. So we are way past automation now, right? Our we If we are talking automation, I think we are doing this podcast 10 years ago probably. So
Yeah.
we should be talking intelligence, we should be talking how we are going to optimize, how we are going to do certain steps are not going to exist as we move forward in our
Yeah.
journeys, right? So, see, this is, if I have to really use a jargon, this is now consumerization of the debt technology, where earlier the consumer was at the receiving end of it, which is why all the fear and all that. And you mentioned a very important point, that technology can help regulate, right? So it can control that a customer is dealt in a certain manner and not
Mm.
dealt in the manner which is fearsome for the customer or the
Yeah.
consumer rather,
The root
right?
issue can
That's
help, but
why
yeah.
technology definitely can build in. Now obviously there can be a level where bots become smarter and they become aggressive with the customer, but that will deal 3 years or 5 years later is going to get there as well. But at this point of time, it is about standardizing the communication, keeping the consumer at the at the center of this interaction. You don't want the consumer to be at the receiving end.
Hmm.
So what we are trying to change is, imagine the consumer at the center and now build the technology around it. What would the consumer want, right?
Yeah.
So final goal is we become somebody which a consumer can trust. So he goes to our application. If he's Mr. EMI, we don't have an application for the consumer right now. But at some point, let's say you have an application, you missed your EMI, you go to our application and you know how you can pay. Okay. If you don't have the funds to pay, you are in a broken situation, how you can come out of this situation, right? There could be consultants, there could be mentoring, there could be a lot of other things, counseling that can happen, a
Yeah.
lot of other things can happen. It's a huge field, right? It's a huge field. I have just
Especially for
touched
the
the early
younger
part,
generation, I
basically.
think. Especially for the younger generation, I think the millennials and all of them who are the so-called buzzwords today, that incoming generation, they financial awareness is so less. I think it
Everybody
works.
loves the millennials in the financial industry because they average want an iPhone and they would take it on EMI. I can guarantee out of 10, 8 iPhones are on EMI basically, because everybody
Yeah.
wants the latest gadget, and they are the ones which is pushing up this space actually. So for them, definitely, because I think probably the generation before us, they were very careful, save and don't spend. We became a slightly more saying, we'll explore a little bit. I am not counting myself out. I am still young, I believe. But the generation which is a millennials, right? They want everything centered around themselves, right? So they
Yeah.
are the center, and they would want the world to rotate around them. So you have to stick to that paradigm, and as things, as years will pass, this will start becoming more of a problem. So having technology, standardization, automation, digitization is a given. There is no discussion, that it will not happen. It is just that it is debatable at which point of the journey. Are we at the beginning of the journey, middle of the journey, or late? So I believe we are at the middle of the journey. We are not at the later part. There is a huge amount still pending. Okay. The beginning was 2 years. I think COVID was the beginning. If you ask me, maybe it's 4 years, 2 years now, which we are out of COVID. So COVID was probably the beginning, where I think not just in our field, every field, things have changed. Now you can
Yeah.
take a loan online, right? You can go to a website, click, do a video KYC, and take a loan. You don't even need to visit a bank. Where was
Yeah.
it possible before that? So
Yeah.
if your
Absolutely.
lending patterns are changing, your collection patterns have to change in line.
As an entrepreneur, you are dealing in an industry which continues to evolve at the speed of light. Technology is something that evolves so fast. And I think, please tell me whether you agree or disagree around this, that as an entrepreneur, as a tech entrepreneur, it requires you to have a different mindset, I think, wherein you're constantly also keeping up with that evolution and kind of bringing, breaking down older boundaries or kind of growing from. How do you manage to do that? How have you managed to keep that alive? And like you said, stay young at it.
See, technology, the way I understand it, it evolves drastically every 3 years. Okay, we don't even have the 5 years in technology. We have in 3 years it evolves, right?
Yeah,
So I will take the example of, since we were talking phones and all that. That's what I understand best, where
yeah,
we built the
yeah,
business.
absolutely. Go
Right?
ahead.
We had these Nokia phones, which probably were there in 2006, 7, 8 odd,
Mm,
basically,
mm.
right? From that, you went to the BlackBerry, right? If
Yeah,
you all of our favorites, right? I don't know why that brand vanished, but yeah, you had BlackBerry, which was a revolution at that
it
time.
was. Yes.
3 years later, I don't know when, my numbers, my date may not be correct, but then you had the iPhone
Yeah,
that came in, and
yeah,
then there were versions of the iPhone that came in.
yeah.
There isn't a disruption except for the fold and everything. There isn't a disruption that has happened.
Yeah,
So it is waiting to get disrupted right now. I think we are at the peak, basically. So if you
yeah,
see, there is a 3 year cycle everywhere,
yeah.
right?
Very true. Yeah,
Everywhere. I was told by somebody, I don't have facts and figures, that actually you don't change your TV so much, but the TV
right.
technology changes much faster than the mobile
Yes.
technology. But we change our mobile phones average every 1.5 year. That's the
Yeah.
average that people change the mobile phone. So in technology, we don't have a choice. We have to continuously evolve and enhance.
Mm,
Okay. So from having a pure play mobile application in our earlier days to trying to make it a little bit intelligent and more far reaching, to now making it self learning. That is the evolution that has happened, right? So we
mm,
want to get to a point where a consumer can just go to an application and say कि boss मेरे को बताओ मेरा cash flow क्या है, I which
yeah.
EMI I have to pay on which date, and please pay, this is my bank account. So this is where probably the next step, which is intelligence, or what do you say, that the generative AI or whatever
Mm,
aspect
mm,
that will start coming in, or the bot aspects that will start coming in. So there is simply no choice when you are in the technology, when you are a technology entrepreneur, to keep evolving and keep moving with technology. It's a investment which you have to make. And if you remember, I mentioned that we plow back our profits. This is
yeah.
exactly what we do. One is technology, and second is domain, right? So
Mm,
we are in a niche, right? We are in the collection domain. We need to understand banking. We need to understand collection. We need to understand how telecom works, so that we can do the renewals, retentions for them as well. So domain and technology. So domain obviously comes with a lot of experience you build over a period of time.
mm,
Technology, you have to evolve. There is no choice, basically. So as we speak, our teams are already working on the next generation generative models, where we can start predicting behavior. We can start. We already do risk analysis. We tell So, for example, we know Karishma will pay on time, and probably
Hmm.
Siddharth may default, right? Because he's an entrepreneur and you have a well-equipped person on the other side. So, our algorithms will start figuring that out as of today. They do that as of today. The future is much far ahead. That as
Hmm.
soon as probably somebody comes for a loan, I can tell ki boss, this person will probably not default, and he is a good customer to lend, right?
Hmm.
And when you are coming on the due date, because I know that the stock exchange in US went down and there has been a home crisis there is a war happening. Combining all that data, I can start telling banks saying that was now this month is going to be bad. There are going to be normally 4% people bounce or 5% people bounce. This month is going to be 7%, right? This is evolution in technology, and it is it is unavoidable. And if you ask me, we won't survive if we don't move at that pace. We won't survive. So as a tech entrepreneur, forget tech entrepreneur. If you have a product which is on the software side or you are doing some services, your tech has to evolve basically. Otherwise, you will find yourself haunting very quickly.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that with me. Thank you for joining me yet again. I learned something new. I'm sure listeners will as well. And looking forward to sharing this one. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
sure. Great, Karishma. It was nice talking to you, and happy to strike another conversation when you want to.